We have two eyes for a very good reason. Although each one is independently capturing an image of the world around us, they need to work as a team. Each eye sees the world from a slightly different angle, and when the brain merges the two images, we get a three-dimensional view, which enables us to judge depth and distance. Because I'm a primate, I've actually got very good depth perception, so I can look at something and work out exactly how far away it is. I can look up the rock and see exactly where I'm putting my hand. And that's all part of our primate heritage, living in trees. Even though I've climbed before, this is a tricky ascent, and my eyes are vital in helping me choose the safest route. Our eyes have got inbuilt automatic focus, so I can focus on really detailed things close up, like handholds here, and I can see the texture of the rock and everything, and then I can change my focus and look down. Maybe not. Okay, well, this is difficult enough, being able to see the handholds and footholds, but now I'm going to try it blindfold. Trevor, you're going to be my eyes, aren't you?
I'm going to do my best.
It's very strange. As soon as I put the blindfold on, I've lost an idea of how far I am above the ground.
Stand on that.
That's... honestly?
Yep.
It doesn't feel like I'm standing on anything.
Take it down an inch.
Oh, where's my handhold gone? I feel as though I'm going to go careering off to the right. Oh, God. Oh, I'm a bit nervous now. I don't know if I can get my foot on there. Oh, I can't find anything. Oh, help. Down an inch.
Yeah. There you go.
I'm having to rely now on feeling my way. And I can't see my rope anymore. I can't feel the tension in it. And that's just a bit scary. I can feel grass and various ropes. Hooray! Fantastic. Oh. I have to say, to be able to take the blindfold off at the top, look at that view! That's amazing. That's fantastic. The eye is just like a camera, and this isn't just a metaphor. Right at the front, we've got a lens, and looking at the front of the eye, the clear cornea is focusing light into the eye. Then, of course, the camera's got the aperture that it can shut down to let variable amounts of light in, and our irises do the same thing, and they affect the size of the pupil. Behind the iris of the eye, we've got the lens of the eye, so a bit more focusing going on there. And once you've done all that focusing of the light passes through and hits the retina of the eye, which converts light into electrical messages, which are then sent back to the brain. We should be able to find all of those parts in a real eye. I'm going to dissect this eye later. First, though, meet Sarah Crump, who has a family history of eye problems.
My dad had a cataract operation. My nan's had one removed, but she's got an operation to have the second one on the other eye removed in the next couple of weeks. And that's really what's prompted me to find out, you know, is it genetic? Is it something that you get in your family?
Research is ongoing, but studies have linked cataracts to smoking, poor diet, and excessive exposure to sunlight. The most common type is age-related. Sarah's grandmother Joan has already had one lens replaced and is due to have her second eye operated on.
When she had the first one done, it's made such a huge difference because her eyesight was very poor. And now that she's had this second one develop over the last sort of couple of months, I am very pleased that she's here and she's going to have it done.
Sarah now wants to make sure that her lifestyle won't increase her own chances of getting cataracts. Like 5 million of us, Sarah works with computers and she watches the national average of 3 hours of television a day. At the very least, she should have an eye test. She's not alone, though.
I couldn't even tell you the last time I've been to the optician.
I've never had one. Oh, God. Actually, 2 years ago now. 13 years ago.
I've never had one, so I'll need one.
Actually, this morning.
"13 million people in the UK don't have regular eye tests. For a better understanding of how our eyes work, Sarah's meeting me at the lab. Gloves on, and we're straight in, dissecting a horse's eye from the abattoir. If I just hand it to you and you have a feel of it, because it's a bit of a strange texture.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really. That's very weird.
It's very strange, isn't it? I mean, you can feel it's got a sort of tough, leathery coat to it, but you can really feel the fluid inside.
Yeah, definitely.
If you turn it upside down, release the other way up, there's the optic nerve.
All right.
So there it is. So it's quite a chunky nerve.
Yeah.
Coming out from the back of the eye, and in there are going to be all the axons, the nerve fibres, bringing that message back to the brain. The eye is actually divided into two compartments by the lens. So the lens sort of makes a division between the front and the back of the eye. Can you see this watery stuff coming out?
Yeah.
If I just pick that up, there we go, you can sort of see that.
Oh, it's just like sort of gel, isn't it?
Yeah. Now what we should be able to find here, there we go. This is the lens. Now that's actually made of lots and lots of cells. So it's not a bag of fluid at all, it's stacks and stacks of cells.
Because it just looks just like it's liquid, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. Shall we have a go and see if it does actually work as a lens? We just move it along.
Oh, God.
You can see it doing its job as a lens.
Definitely.
Yeah. The lens, of course, when it gets cloudy, that's the basis of cataracts. So that's what your grandmother
She
would have
used
had.
to have sort of a cloudy sort of
Did she?
look on her eye. Yeah, it just sort of looked as if it was sort of something in front of it.
Something like that.
Yes.
Yes.
Definitely.
What you're looking at there, rather than a black pupil, rather than looking back into the back of the eye, you're actually looking at the lens, and the lens is all cloudy and opaque.
Right.
And obviously, you know, that's going to stop the light getting to the back of the retina. And that's what it looks like when you have cataracts. With a new respect for this remarkable organ, it's time for Sarah's eye test. It's been 6 years since her last one.
I get headaches, but I've never really sort of, I guess, made the connection between my headaches and my eyesight. So that's the slightly worrying part, that might actually be something there.
The 2-yearly eye test can pick up many conditions, including glaucoma. This is the leading cause of preventable blindness in the UK. There's a strong genetic link, but if caught early enough, it's treatable.
And it's there. Thank you.
Okay.
Absolutely ecstatic that my eyesight is perfect, 20/20 vision.
Not everyone's as fortunate as Sarah. For the rest of us, there are glasses or contact lenses, and one other option. Laser eye surgery has been around for some 20 years, with 100,000 people opting for it annually. Neil Hawkins is about to take the plunge, but not without a last-minute attack of nerves.
I did think about pulling out last night. I thought about it. I didn't sleep very well, so I was pretty nervous. And then on the way on the train this morning, I thought about actually just going shopping.
Computers are used to both measure the eyes beforehand and to carry out the operation itself. First, Neil has anaesthetic eye drops. Then a laser cuts a circular flap in the conjunctiva on the surface of the eye to reach the cornea underneath. A second laser then burns away the top of the cornea to correct its focus. Laser surgery isn't suitable for everyone, and you'll have to go private, forking out up to $2.5 grand for both eyes. Half an hour later, and Neil's all done.
You can see it? Yeah, I'm amazed. It's a revelation. Yeah, I see the world in a whole new light. It's great. I'm really excited.
'21st century living demands a lot from our eyes. So many of us, like Sarah, use computers, but is working at a PC really bad for our eyes, or is that just an urban myth? Sarah is just one of the millions of us that spend a lot of time sitting in front of computer screens. The REC building where she works is light and airy, and the staff are required to take breaks every 2 hours. But what happens when we take those breaks away? Sarah and her workmates are our guinea pigs for an experiment. Ophthalmologist Dr. Rob Cubbage is going to help me find out if sitting at a computer screen for long periods really does affect your eyesight. Right then, everybody, so you all know which groups you're in. 3 of you aren't having any breaks at all this morning, so you're the unlucky ones. 3 of you are going to have regular breaks, and 1 of you is working as normal. But before you start, Dr. Cubbage is going to test your vision. This eye test will give us a benchmark of our subject's vision.
O-A-V.
They'll then work for a 4-hour period with or without breaks.
E-R-S-H.
At the end, we'll test them again and find out if they've experienced sore, dry eyes, headaches or tiredness. Work begins for the 4-hour period and the breaks are taken or not. One of the things we're looking for in our experiment is how staring at a screen for a long time might affect the ability of your eye to focus. So what I've got here is a lens, it's actually a water balloon, and my fingers are the muscle around the lens, the ciliary muscle. When you look into the distance, the muscle's relaxed and the lens is at its flattest. If you focus on something close to you, like a computer screen, the muscles contract in and squeeze the lens into a bulging shape, which then focuses the light rays on the retina. Now, those muscles, like any other muscles in your body, can get tired. And if you then switch your vision to look at something in the distance, they can be a bit sluggish, letting go of the lens and letting it relax. And you would see that as blurriness. So I'm quite intrigued to see if we pick up on that in our little test. The long-term effects aren't known, but larger studies have already found that not taking screen breaks can cause temporary periods of short-sightedness. 4 hours on, we give our guinea pigs a screen break. After more eye tests and a questionnaire, it's time to reveal the results. Hello. Hello, Sarah. Is there anybody here that was in the non-break group? I was. Yep. Sarah and you were as well?
Yep.
There were actually some quite stark differences between people like you who didn't take any breaks at all and people who were taking breaks. We didn't find any difference in the vision tests, but where we found the differences was in your questionnaires. We've only run the experiment for 4 hours and the eye tests haven't shown a dramatic difference, but the questionnaires certainly have. Dry eyes, irritation and headaches. Everything that you put down there is exactly what we expect to see in people who are staring at a screen for a long time. And that was a real difference between you and presumably you were in the group that were allowed to go off and have frequent breaks.
We had lots of breaks.
Yeah, and you weren't telling us any of this in your questionnaires.
No, we were fine, I think.
Yeah. So your eyes were fine, no headaches, no aches, nothing like that. When you actually look at a screen and you concentrate on it and you don't have any breaks, your rate of blinking goes down. It's like you forget to blink.
That's not good.
Well, it's not, because once you stop blinking, then you're not moving tears across the surface of your eye, and so then you get the dryness and the irritation, and that's where all that's from. So frequent breaks then?
Yeah, definitely.
Having said that, it's probably time to go back to work, isn't it? Screen breaks rest the eyes by relaxing the muscles they use to focus, and blinking stops their surface drying out. Now I want to know more about what's going on inside the eye, so I've come back to see Rob Cubbage.
What I'm looking at is an infrared image. So if you just blink now and...
So that's taking a picture of the back of my eye now,
yes, so if we can go over and look at that image, that's what we see.
Wow, so that's my retina.
What you can actually see there is a lot of blood vessels.
Yeah, that's the optic disc where all the nerves with the information from the retina go back to the brain.
Yeah, the optic disc is the collection point and exit of all the nerves that are in the eye.
And these are the retinal blood vessels?
That's right. So the darker ones are veins because they carry deoxygenated blood.
Yeah.
And the lighter coloured ones, the thinner ones, are arteries. And then there's a specialised area of the retina which is over here. It's in this broad area here, and this is called the macula. And the macula is the part of your eye that does all your detailed seeing. So when you look at a book or look at the TV, it's the macula that you're actually using.
But this crucial part of the eye can deteriorate as we get older. It's known as macular degeneration.
These light-sensitive cells start to break down.
Right.
And eventually they can cause scarring, and the scarring in effect creates blind spots in your vision.
Right.
Well, we'll show it in its advanced form where you have large amounts of scarring.
That looks horrendous.
And this person will not be able to see, this person will be registered blind.
Really?
So,
would they be able to see around the
yes,
edge?
They can see around, if you look, the edge of of that area is normal, so they can see normally.
So they've still got peripheral vision, but
Yes,
actually
but
in the centre they've lost
has
it.
disappeared, and the centre's the bit that's crucial.
When the macula is damaged, everyday tasks become difficult or downright dangerous. So what can we do to reduce the risk of it happening?
We can do something about smoking. Smoking reduces the amount of a pigment at the back of the eye called lutein, which has a protective role.
That protects against ultraviolet.
Light. And so without that protection, it may well be that the ultraviolet light subsequently then causes damage to the back of the eye.
Someone who's learning to live with macular degeneration is Danny Gleason. In his case, it's genetic. He's registered blind, but he's determined it's not going to slow him down.
Macular degeneration is like looking at everything that hasn't got a middle in it. If you could get some spectacles and put 2 blobs of Vaseline straight in the middle and then look ahead, that's what it would be like. Your brain's very clever. You know what newspapers are which just by the front covers. You can get the Express and the Mail mixed up. You know, they can be very similar. So you buy the Times. As the bus comes along, you just see, you don't know it's the bus coming along, of course. Then as it gets nearer, you just see the shape of it. And then you realise it's a bus. You've got no idea what the number is or the destination on it. And by the time it does get near enough so you can almost see the number, unless you stick your hand out, 9 times out of 10 it just sails past and you've missed it. When I go down the pub to meet my friends, when I walk through the door of the pub, you just don't know who's in there, you don't know who's looking at you, you don't know anything, because you look at everyone and no one's got a face. I had a specialist say that I'll always have a peripheral vision, so I'll never actually go blind, and I'll always be able to get to the pub even when I'm 80, so, you know, life can't be too bad, can it?
Even healthy eyes need looking after, and diet has a part to play. Sarah's family history of eye problems gives her more reason than most to watch what she eats, but it's never easy.
This is my fridge. It's not too bad. Life's pretty hectic with work. We work shifts, obviously. The RAC shuts at 9, so some nights we can be working till 9 o'clock. So we don't technically get home until about 9:45. So on some nights, it's just grab something quick and easy. James tends to have a bowl of cereal, so I'll probably have a Mars bar. I've always been a big believer in that adage, a sugar rush, so if I'm feeling low, I'll straight away reach for a chocolate bar.
Sarah knows she has to rethink her eating habits. I've arranged for her to meet Professor Ian Grierson for some advice on eating for your eyes.
So, Ian, is it true that carrots are actually good for the eyes?
Well, Sarah, they are actually. They're very good for the eyes because they're rich in vitamin A, and that's a great antioxidant that works very well for retinal health and eye health.
Right.
But there are far better ones. I kind of follow the traffic light system with green, yellow and red fruits that protect the retina and the macula of the eye.
So what would be best for me to buy then?
Greens are particularly good. They carry a dye within them that is concentrated in a little bit in your lens, but particularly in the macula by which we have central vision.
The dye Ian's talking about is lutein, found in all green leafy vegetables. It's essential for healthy eyes, but the body doesn't make it, so we have to top it up by eating the right kinds of vegetables. Lutein is yellow, and you've probably seen it without knowing it. When green leafy vegetables go off, the yellow that appears is the lutein showing through. With Sarah back from market, I've been invited over for dinner to try out the new healthy menu. Sarah! Hello, you've been to market?
Yeah, I have.
So we do this healthy kale stew. This is quite nice because it actually combines what you'd think of as traditionally being good for the eye, and actually it's got vitamin A and beta carotene in it, so it is good. But also we've got this star kale, which is just fantastic for the eye because it's got loads of lutein in it and also antioxidants. Interestingly enough, lutein is actually fat-soluble, so it's released better when vegetables are cooked in a bit of oil. Would you like some of this ratatouille?
Yeah, definitely.
You know, Sarah, this is very good food. It looks good, it looks fantastic, it tastes good, and I think I can feel my eyes getting better. Lutein does a good job of protecting the retina, which is just as well, because one of the greatest threats to our eyes is all around us. It's sunlight. I brought this prism outside into the sunlight so that I can split visible light up into its coloured parts, and if I turn the prism round I can just about get a rainbow coming out of it. Yeah, that's beautiful. All the way through from red through to orangey, yellow, greens and blues and purples at the other end. Now, each of those colours represents a different wavelength. The red bit has quite a long wavelength compared with the blue bit, which has a much shorter wavelength. Now, ultraviolet, of course, is off the end of the visible spectrum. I can't see it. I know it's somewhere here, and I know that it's even shorter waves than the blue light that I can see. And I can test and see if it's there because I've actually got an ultraviolet sensor here. There's no reading at all when I'm holding it in my hand. I expose it to the sunlight, and there's a reading. So even though I can't see that ultraviolet, I can measure it. Now, we're all very aware of the damage that UV can do to our skin, but are we looking after our eyes? Exposure to ultraviolet radiation is one of the chief suspects in causing cataracts. Not like a cat. But do sunglasses offer us any real protection? They're quite comfortable. How much are they?
They range from about £100 to £160.
Ooh, look at these ones, they're huge. Protect most of your face. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I think I need to spend between £80 and £100 for a good pair of specs with UV protection.
About £100?
I don't think you have to spend much to get UV protection. I don't really look for that sort of thing anyway.
I'll go for style, and protection for the eye would be secondary consideration.
Well, they had a bit of a sale on, so I've gone a bit mad. These ones are sort of pearly effect, they say 100%. They were only £7.99. And then these ones I got specially because they're kids' ones. They say 100% UV protection, but I want to test that. And they're actually quite chic as well. Look at that, lovely. And I've come back to Aston University to see Dr. Colin Fowler to test out my sunglasses to see if they stand up to their UV claims. So, Colin, you've got the lens from these rather nice silver glasses in there.
Yes.
Can we run the test to see if they do really block out UV?
We've mounted it on here, and we'll put it in the machine.
So the machine is just sending a beam of light through it and then seeing what it puts at the other side?
Yes, it's sending a very precise beam of light in a range of wavelengths.
The wavelength of light is measured in nanometers, and the dangerous ultraviolet rays sit on the scale between 280 and 400 nanometers. This test will pick up whether our sunglasses block those rays or allow them to pass through to our eyes. Well, this is looking pretty good at the moment, Colin.
Yes,
we're all the way
good.
up to visible light, and there's nothing. So it's right, it is,
So, yeah, that's
blocking
a valid
out.
claim.
We're testing sunglasses ranging from £3.50 kids' ones up to £170 designer shades. The labelling varies too. Some claim 100% UV protection, others seem to have no markings whatsoever. So what should we be looking out for?
At the very least, the sunglasses should be CE marked.
What does that mean? Oh,
It
yeah,
means that
there.
they comply with the essential safety requirements.
All of our glasses pass the UV test from the cheapest to the most expensive at £170. I didn't need to have quite such expensive taste, but I've become quite attached to these. 1 in 3 people over the age of 65 has some degree of cataracts. Sarah's grandmother Joan now needs a cataract operation.
To be honest, she probably just wants it over and done with now. She's here, she's at the hospital. I would say she's a little bit nervous. She'll say she's not, But she knows that she's going to have the needle through the eye, so obviously she knows that's coming. So that's, I mean, that's got to make you nervous at the end of the day, isn't it?
This procedure takes just 20 minutes and she'll be awake throughout it. Joan is just one of nearly 300,000 people who have this operation each year.
What she's going to do is break up the lens. This is the probe that's just coming into view that we use to grind it up, and it grinds it up. That's the grinding. And it's ultrasound, and then you'll start to see a pink area appearing. There we go, one of the quarters has been sucked up, and then we'll just sort of spin it and pull out another quarter and another quarter and another quarter until it's all gone. Now we're just increasing the size of the wound ever so slightly, and that's because we fold a lens and put it in.
Right.
And there we go, it's going in. And there we go.
Oh, wow. So that's
it. That's the lens being unfolded.
Yeah.
So if you look carefully, there'll be an arm sticking out now.
Yeah.
And we'll just pop that arm in. So there we go, back for a cup of tea now.
Yes. I thought that was absolutely marvellous. To actually watch them break it down, you can actually see it sort of being sucked out, and then to actually see the difference. I mean, I can't obviously see through it, so I don't know, but looking at it, it's so much clearer.
This surgery is routine, but I still think it's extraordinary. Operations like these rely on our understanding of how the eye works. Sarah and I have both gone on a real journey. I've been glad to get out of the lab and see how our eyes cope in the workplace, and it seems that screen breaks really do make a difference. It just really drives home the message, doesn't it? That, yeah, keep on having frequent breaks. Yeah. Sarah's knuckled down to her new eye-friendly eating regime. I now know I don't have to pay hundreds of pounds for UV protection. Just look for the CE mark. And we've seen just how important regular eye tests are. So with a bit of thought, you can look after your eyes and actually the health of your whole body. But right now, I'm going to need my eyes to look after me. Coming up next time, I'll get under the skin of the body's largest organ. I'll meet one man who's definitely not taking care of his outer layer. And I'll find out how my skin copes with extremes. Oh, that's